Hey guys, this is Seth from the Mast Store Knife Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to date a case knife. Many people in the knife shop, they always come to me if someone comes up with an old case knife or they want to know the age, the style, if it's worth anything, they'll come to me. And so I figured I would show you guys how to date a case knife. And what you're looking at here is all of the different Tang stamps the case has used over the last 100 and something years. They've been around since 1889. And if you don't know what a Tang stamp is, I'll show you real fast. On a knife at the bottom, this is the Tang, and that's called the Tang stamp right there, wherever there's a stamping. And pretty much all knives will have that, all pocket knives. And so this chart, which is available online from case itself, will show you what each stamp means or what the years are, stuff like that. And this is very important because you could have an heirloom holy grail of a case knife laying around that you thought was your great granddad's work knife, but if it's something with a special stamping and really old, it could be worth a ton. So stick around and I'm going to show you how to do that. For example, we'll start with one of the older, more popular stampings. That right here, that's called the tested stamping. From 1920 to 40 is pretty much what they used that. And there were a few other ones within that time frame that they used, but this is definitely the more common one. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe go home and see if you have a case knife with that stamping, because it could be worth a ton. And of course, a lot of that is based on condition and handle, blade, stuff like that, but keep that in mind. And now I'll actually show you some of my collection. This is a double X knife right here. You can see the stamping on that. Case double X, 2 X's right there. And this knife alone can be worth a ton. It's got a green bone handle, pretty mint condition, so that's what collectors look for. Like I said, that's called double X. And a little knowledge here, the double X means they've tested it twice during the heat treat and tempering process. That's why it's case XX. That means it's been tested twice. Pretty cool little fact. And then we will jump on to, this is a 1950 to 64 stamping. See if you can see that there. That's case XX stainless blade. Kind of a rare model called a citrus tester. You don't see a lot of those. And now we can jump on to the 70s. So you see the trend here. Every decade has a different stamping. And actually in the 70s is when they started where you can date every single year. You can almost see the dots on there. See how that one has 2 dots right there? So that means it's a 1978, because for every year they take away a dot. So like 1970 would have 10 dots. 1975 would have 5 dots and so forth. The 70s are important because that's when they started dating every single year. That's a pretty cool little tidbit there. And that one's even numbered on the bolster. So again, another good collector piece. Pretty little peanut right there. And now let's jump on to the 1980s. Right there you can see that one pretty much has all the dots. So you can tell that's a very early looks like a 1980. And also the only difference in the 70s and 80s, see how the S is a lightning bolt S versus the curved S? That's how you distinguish 70s from the 80s. Otherwise they look pretty close. And that one has the USA on it. And speaking of that, I jumped a little bit of the 60s, which was an important era. You can see right there the 65 to 69 stamping. And that is the first time they put USA on the blade. So that 5-year period is a very collectible period. A lot of people like to collect just those, and they usually bring a little more money in the collector market. So keep that in mind, 65 to 69. And now, and also I guess while we're on the chart, there's a few that I don't have, but like right there you've got the 90s. That is, for these 3 years, that is the only time they actually stamped the year on it, like 1992 right there. That's the only time they've ever actually stamped it. And we got a couple of the early 90s right there, into the 90s, 97, 99. And then here I can show you in early 2000s. Right there you can see the stamping on that. And in the year 2000 they started using the X's and dots instead of all dots. That helps distinguish it. So again, for every year they would take away a dot for the first 5 years, and then the last 5 years of the decade they would take away the X's. So you can see right here you got 2 dots missing, so it looks like a 2002 right there. So pretty cool. And you got the long tail C on it right there. It's the skinnier model. And here I'll show you the next one, which is, this is 2010, and you can see the C right there. It's a little bit thicker, and it's still got the X's and the dots. So the same thing, they take away a dot. So that looks like a 2011, and the C is a little bit thicker on that one. So these little subtle differences are how you distinguish the different years and decades. And this is a melon tester, pretty cool piece. See how large that is? Very popular. I got a few more. This is a late 2000, that looks like a 2018 if I'm counting my dots correctly. That's late in the decade. right there. It's got a little bit more, got the pattern number on there. So all the time they changed up the pattern a little bit. So that's why you got to really pay attention to the details on it. This one is after 2020, and they changed it up yet again. So you can see they got the case XX with all the dots on it. They did away with the X's this time, so now it's back to just the dots. And again, you take away a dot for every year of the decade. So that looks like a 2022 right there, if I'm counting my dots correctly. So pretty cool on that one. That's a really pretty knife, Stag handle. And then this one, same thing, but you can see I have less dots. So that looks like a 2000 and how many dots we got there? We got 5, so 2025, if you can do the math. Pretty cool. And now, one more important thing about case knives is the pattern number on the back of the blade. So I'll show you some examples on that. So like here's a good example. So on the back of every case blade is the pattern number. And in this case you got USA, the SS for stainless steel. And if you look close, you can see 6100. And to some people that may not mean anything, but to a collector, that is very important because the 6 or the first number on the pattern number is the handle material. So in this case, 6 means bone. It can be wood, it can be Delrin, it can be a couple things. But that's important. If it were Stag, it would be a 5. If it was synthetic like Delrin, it would be a 3 and so forth. And you can get the chart online from Case or just Google it. You can see what every single number means for the handle materials, all the way from 1 to 7 or 8. And then the second number, see the 1, that distinguishes how many blades that knife has. So obviously this is a 1 blade, so that's why it's a 6-1. If it had 2 blades, it would be 6-2. If it had 3 blades, 3. You get the idea. And then the last 2 numbers, sometimes 3, is the pattern number the Case has designated to that particular knife. So like this is a 00. It's a really early model called a melon tester. And so this model is 00. And there's different ones, there's 54s, 75s. And again, you can go online and see what each model, like what a trapper is, what a peanut is. Pretty cool. So that's what that number represents. Very important when collecting case knives. And usually like Stag, if it were Stag, that would be worth more than bone. It'd be worth a lot more if it was a synthetic material like Delrin or something synthetic. Sometimes they use buffalo horn, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. That's why Case is so collectible, because they use the really cool handles. Here's an example of, it's called bone Stag. You can kind of see it's called 6.5. And that means it's bone made to look like Stag. So that's another example of the different handle material. So it looks pretty good. That looks like Stag at a glance, but it's actually just bone in Case made it look that way. So pretty cool. And also another feature for collecting, if you listen right here, you hear the snap. That is perfect. That's what collectors want. They want to hear the snap. A lot of them call it gator snap. And then if a knife doesn't have a good snap, let me show you like an older one. They call that a lazy blade. Like this one is 1940 to 64. So you can barely hear that. It does not have a lot of snap left. And it's an old knife. That one, the main blade's not too bad. And that's mostly because it's been used for so long that the metal is worn away and it doesn't have quite the snap that it used to have. So little key points like this can help you on kind of appraising a case knife, you know, seeing if it's worth a lot or just not a whole lot. So important little facts. I hope you all found this information helpful, and let me know if you have any questions. You can leave me a comment. Maybe you have your great granddad's case knife and want to know if it's worth a lot or not. And you can always go online and kind of join some case forums and get an idea of, you know, true collector values. But I think dating them is the most important part, so you can see how old it really is. So I appreciate you all watching, and remember, before you go, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss any new content. And I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you next time.